Hello, in this video, I have the following objectives. We will explore the early works or pioneering studies that addressed telecommuting in the 80s. This means we are talking about over 40 years ago. My goal is for you to understand how remote work and teamwork were defined in those pioneering articles and the main motivations for remote work. In other words, I want you to know what they considered the primary contribution of remote work at that time, how they defined its impact, and the expected characteristics of telecommutable jobs or individuals opting for telecommuting. I want to emphasize the perspectives we had many years ago and see if they have influenced any ongoing trends that persist today. I want you to see if there have been any modifications or if we still think the same. Let's start with the basic definitions that were prevalent at that time. Telecommuting was considered a remote interaction between two or more individuals or between individuals and machines that provided them with the necessary information to make daily decisions. This interaction was facilitated by the available information technologies of that era. On the other hand, a work group was characterized by face-to-face contact within a professional context. Such communication facilitated various types of interactions, including specific work-related queries, information sharing, or informal conversations that took place around a coffee machine, during the lunch break or in the corridors, breaking the routine. A small joke or comment showing interest in others' problems or joy interrupted the monotony of daily work and refreshed the individual before continuing with their tasks. This was the prevailing perspective in the 80s. While the concept of remote work is still relevant today, there have likely been specific differences in how the idea of a work group is perceived compared to the 80s. During that time, it was clear that three types of flexibilities or dimensions came into play when transitioning to remote work, and it is important to know and study each one of them. Firstly, there was the flexibility of location, where individuals could connect and interact from different physically or geographically separated places. Secondly, there was the flexibility of time. Lastly, there was the flexibility of processes, although this aspect was often not emphasized. Reinterpreting these insights from 40 to 50 years ago into today's context, what would happen to these flexibilities when transitioning from individual remote work to remote teamwork? Are we still thinking along the same lines, or have we changed our minds? The flexibility of location would likely remain unchanged. Still, the flexibility of time and processes would depend on the nature of the tasks undertaken by the teams. We must analyze each case of work to draw any conclusions about these flexibilities. Sequential tasks with minimal dependencies allowed for individual work with occasional handoffs. Therefore, the flexibility of process and time is really high. In contrast, tasks requiring frequent interdependence and collaboration pose challenges in managing time flexibility and process adaptability, especially when working remotely. In a physical workplace, interdependence and task flow are easily carried out and overlooked. Managing tasks or switching tasks from one type to another is very easy, as you usually can access to all your teammates at any time during the workday. However, better planning, anticipation, and communication are necessary in remote settings. This task is usually complex, as many different timetables must be worked out. We need to make clear to every member of the group how we do things, why and when we do it, and if the task they are taking care of depends on another teammate or whether another teammate depends on their job. Referring back to the perspectives from the 80s, the primary benefits highlighted in telecommuting discussions were mainly associated with transportation costs and time spent commuting between home and the workplace. Factors such as traveling time inverted by the worker and the associated fuel expenses, public transportation costs, pollution resulting from commuting, energy savings in the office due to fewer employees in face-to-face mode, and sustainability were considered. Those were the primary considerations made back then, although they were not the only consequences of working remotely. It was also recognized that telecommuting had a global or systemic impact affecting various elements. In other words, many factors were affected when you brought the concept of telework into play. The effect extended beyond individuals and their work-life balance to teams and the organizations encompassing them. There were aspects to be discussed, such as working time, organization procedures, and communication methods, among others. Additionally, there were impacts on society as a whole, including businesses providing services or products related to telecommuting, such as cloud applications or collaborative platforms, which have significantly evolved since then, as well as local businesses like bars or restaurants that could be affected by changes in the movement of people. And moreover, there were other social agents affected by this. It was understood that telecommuting had far-reaching effects, particularly in terms of organizational complexity and supervision of work. Not only to know if the work was being done, but how it was being done and how we could support it to be done better. Supervision became more complicated. The visibility that individuals had within the organization could also become complex. How it could affect their promotion to different levels within the organization is closely related to the ability to create networks within and outside the company. It was clear that this matter could be impacted by teleworking. It also affected the bond established between individuals and their organizations or teams. In other words, how you socialize and create environments of friendship along with work. This is linked to the impact that teleworking had on the interactions. These interactions have been classified for some time into three categories. The purely technical interactions are related to the professional decisions you make and the interactions you make to resolve work-related matters. There is also the case of social interactions, which are not directly related to shared tasks, but have purely social aspects. It has also been known for a long time that in work environments, in jobs where tasks are essentially routine and repetitive, these social interactions play a vital role in the well-being of the workers, in their commitment, satisfaction, and even in the way they carry out tasks within the organization. And since there is technical and social interactions, a third category emerged that was a hybrid of both. This set of interactions share both the social aspect and the work aspect. For example, when you engage in observational learning with colleagues or have informal conversations that generate improvements in processes, products, services, or methods within the organization. These types of hybrid interactions are where both aspects come together. What is clear, as it was known back then and continues to be known, is that one of the critical success factors of teleworking is managing these interactions when moving from face-to-face to remote mode. Moreover, hybrid environments generate additional complexity, as people work both remotely and in person simultaneously, and it is necessary to handle these interactions to ensure the proper flow of communication. Scientific publications of that time also studied and identified the characteristics that made a job suitable for telecommuting. In the 80s, a telecommutable job was defined as one that required high levels of concentration and did not involve complex equipment, materials, or physical facilities. This means it wouldn't need any special requirements to perform the task. The work could be performed in various locations such as homes, co-working spaces, or libraries. These jobs did not require extensive communication with colleagues either. Individuals could work independently on assigned tasks with minimal interaction. At the beginning of a project, more communication may be needed as tasks, responsibilities, and working groups have to be defined, but once established, each person can work individually. Moreover, telecommutable jobs allowed for individual control over work pace and task completion with clear and defined deliverables. For longer projects, deliverables could be broken down into intermediate milestones to track progress. Complex tasks could be accomplished without constant feedback from team members. Every worker knows how to react to most problems that may arise without outside help. There's no need for team members to work together. It's important to note that this definition of telecommutable jobs did not prioritize teamwork, reflecting the prevailing mindset and work practices of the 80s. Regarding the characteristics of individuals suitable for remote work, they need to be flexible in their lifestyles and adaptable to changes. The transition from in-person to remote work involves various adjustments and micro-adjustments that can impact how individuals typically live, work, and interact with their environment. Therefore, individuals had to be capable and willing to make these adjustments. They also needed high self-motivation, self-discipline, and a moderate need for social interaction. Excessive reliance on social interaction could diminish their enthusiasm for work as it could be affected by these changes and conditions. At this point of the presentation, I believe you may now have an understanding of how early articles and research which discussed remote work and teamwork. This includes the motivations and impacts associated with remote work and the key characteristics identified for those who carry out remote jobs efficiently and satisfactorily. Remember that not everyone might adjust well to teleworking. It will depend on the type of job and the type of person. It's worth considering if these pioneering works encompassed remote team collaboration or primarily focused on individual remote jobs. What do you think about that from everything that we have been talking about? As we extrapolate conclusions from that time to the present, especially when considering remote teamwork, it may require some adaptations and perspective changes. It will also be interesting to incorporate new evidence that has become available over the years. Suppose you're curious to delve deeper into these classics. In that case, you may find some references to the initial articles on the subject and credits for the images shown in this presentation.